This is the MedLearn Hub. This is Medical Terminology, the Basics Lesson 2. And in this list, I'm going to talk to you guys about medical terminology with regards to medical conditions and medical processes. So this is actually a continuation of Medical Terminology, the Basics Lesson 1. And at the end of this video, I'm going to take what you have learned from Lesson 1 and Lesson 2 and give you some practice problems to help you use the information you've learned from these lessons to help better understand and better get a grasp of deciphering medical terminology. The first one is this dys, D-Y-S. That means just problem or something abnormal. So again, as I mentioned, dyspnea if there's some abnormal pattern of breathing. Mal is bad. Maladaptive. Itis. This is a suffix, itis. This is a very important one. If you can remember itis, you know a lot of different types of medical conditions like colitis, gastroenteritis, arthritis. They all have to do with inflammation. Another one is plasia, process of growth or growing. Plasm, that's just a growth or formation. The next one is oma, that means tumor. So sarcoma, typically when you see oma, you can think of cancer in that regard. Another one is trophy, or that typically means growth as well. Growth typically involving cellular growth, and this doesn't mean division. It actually means just a growing in size. There's no growth in number, but a growth in size. So that's the difference between plasia and trophy. The next one is pathy, which means disease. Neuropathy is one to think about disease of nerves. Osis is typically used, and that just means a condition and usually means an abnormal condition when you say it. Another one is eyah. This one at the end of a word, I-A, like ab, is another way of saying an abnormal condition. Ism is just state of. And just think about hypothyroidism. That's just a state of a low thyroid activity or low thyroid function. And the next one is ek or eel, and that just means pertaining to or related to some process. So cephalic or esophageal, it just really means pertaining to the subject or pertaining to the process at hand. Some more processes. Meta, this is the prefix actually that means chains or transformation. So metaplasia, there's a transformation in cell type. Another one is stasis or static. That just means a maintenance of normal conditions. We all know homeostasis. So homeo is body, stasis is maintenance of normal conditions. You're maintaining your body within normal conditions. And the opposite of stasis or static is dynamic, which means changing or involving continual change. It is usually associated with processes that undergo constant modification. One example of such a process is hemodynamic. Another common term is lytic or lysis, which signifies destruction. For instance, when you hear the terms hemolytic or hemolysis, it refers to the destruction of blood or red blood cells. The term megali means enlarged, and you may recall earlier when I mentioned megalo. It can be used as a suffix to indicate enlargement. Instead of using it as a prefix, you can also use it as a suffix. Penia indicates a decrease or a level below normal. For example, cytopenia refers to a decrease in cell number or the number of cells being below normal. And emia is related to a blood condition, as seen in the term anemia. Moving on to medical procedures, there are various terms to familiarize yourself with. Take notes as I go along. The first one is ectomy, which means excision or removal. An example of this is appendectomy, where the appendix is surgically removed. Another term is otomy, which refers to an incision or cutting. An example is tracheotomy, where the trachea is cut. Ostomy involves making a hole for some kind of connection. A colostomy bag is an example where a hole is created for the purpose of a connection. Scopy, as in the case of a microscope or microscopy. It is the process of viewing. Graph, or graphy, refers to the process of recording. For instance, an audiograph is an instrument used for recording sound, while sonography is the process of recording sound. A gram simply means recording. A mammogram is the recording of your mammary gland. Plasti denotes surgical repair. As mentioned earlier, angioplasty involves the surgical repair of an artery. And another one is therapy, means treatment, and is quite straightforward. I would also like to mention some prefixes that are often used in conjunction with these terms. One of them is chemo, which refers to chemical. Chemotherapy is a form of chemical treatment. Echo or sono means sound. Remember how I mentioned echo earlier? An echocardiogram is a diagnostic tool that uses sound to examine the heart, and it records the sound produced. And electro pertains to electrical charge and is commonly used in electrocardiogram, ECG, which measures the electrical activity of the heart. Now, let's quickly go over a few practice terms. The first one is hypertrophy, which can be broken down as follows. Hyper means above normal, and trophy refers to growth. However, in this context, trophy does not imply an increase in the number of cells, but rather an increase in their size. The next word is normal tension, can be understood as normal, meaning normal, and tension, meaning pressure. So in the context of blood pressure, you can think of it as your normal blood pressure. Hyperplasia can be broken down as hyper, meaning above normal or high, and plasia indicating growth. This emphasizes the distinction between hyperplasia, increase in cell number, and hypertrophy, increase in cell size. Pancytopenia might be a bit more challenging to break down, but let's do it step by step. Pan means all, cyto refers to cells, and penia denotes a decreased or low level. Therefore, pancytopenia means that all types of blood cells, such as erythrocytes and leukocytes, are decreased. It is a term commonly used in clinics or oncology when a patient exhibits decreased levels of multiple blood cell types. Lastly, splenomegaly can be broken down as spleen, referring to the spleen, and megali meaning enlarged. Thus, it simply means an enlarged spleen. By breaking down and understanding these terms, you can gain a better grasp of medical terminology and concepts. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated, and thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.